Welcome to our Tejano virtual events. We're going to have a wonderful presentation for you today. We're having Dr. Escamilla, who is going to be sharing information about the Engineering Academy today. And for attending today's workshop, you have the opportunity to earn Tejano passport points. So during the workshop, I'm going to be placing that code in the chat box and then share more about the program after the workshop. And just to let you know, if you were in the math session this morning and you claimed the code then also and didn't sign out, you might find that you have some problems trying to use the code for this session. So they said if you're having that problem, you can always try it in a different browser, or you can try clearing your history, see if that works, or just let us know and we can see what we can do to help you. So go ahead and get comfortable, mute your mics, and if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or put them in the chat box. So Dr. Escamilla, whenever you're ready, you can begin.
All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. As Ms. Sanchez mentioned, my name is Rebecca Escamilla. I'm the Dean for Architecture, Art, Math, and Science at El Paso Community College. I'm located at the Valle Verde campus, and engineering happens to fall under my area. Today I'm here to share a little bit of information about the Engineering Academy. So I wanted to share a little bit of background about what the program entails, how it came to be to this point in time, and then of course to share with anybody who's interested in being part of the Engineering Academy, or if there's anybody that knows somebody that wants to be a part of our Engineering Academy, then they can definitely share this information with them. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm sharing my PowerPoint, so I don't really have access to the chat or the questions. So I don't know if Ms. Sanchez, you could help me out with that.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. So the Engineering Academy is a partnership that we started with EPCC and UTEP. So as you may know, that UTEP and EPCC have been partners for many, many, many years in many initiatives and programs and endeavors. So the partnership itself between UTEP and EPCC is not new. However, the partnership in the engineering department relating to the Engineering Academy is relatively new. So it started way back in spring of 2023. So we've been working on this program now for almost 3 years. And of course, it started when President Strata and President Wilson from UTEP came together and decided that they wanted to create the Engineering Academy partnership between the two institutions. And so since then, the faculty and staff of both institutions have been really busy trying to plan this program and to implement it to help succeed in their engineering pathways. So the Engineering Academy, of course, is for any student that is interested in any type of engineering program, whether that be civil, industrial, materials, electrical, or mechanical engineering. I know that there are probably sub-programs relating to this. For example, aerospace engineering is something I frequently hear from students. So aerospace engineering is a branch of mechanical engineering. So I usually tell the students, yes, we are going to prepare you for aerospace engineering at UTEP if that's the direction you want to go. So at UPCC, we're going to focus on the mechanical engineering degree program. So the whole concept of the Engineering Academy was meant to basically streamline or enhance the pathway for engineering students between both EPCC and UTEP. That way we can improve the transfer mobility of students. So at the end of the day, we want you to be at EPCC. We want you to complete your courses there. But what we really want is for you to continue your education with a bachelor's degree in engineering and hopefully beyond. So we want to promote that transfer pathway for our students at UTEP so that they can complete that portion of their education. And so one of the things that we like to advertise to students is that you will be part of a vibrant community. You will belong to a cohort of peers, and you're also going to be able to gain access to all of the resources available to you from both EPCC and UTEP. So you're going to get double the student support so that we can help you succeed in your engineering pathway. So a little bit about the elements of the Engineering Academy. So basically, this is what we designed to enhance student success in engineering. So I'm going to go into more detail about some of these things that you see on the screen, but we do have 2 engineering pathways with 1 aligned curriculum. So basically, when the presidents in spring of 2023 said that they wanted to create this engineering academy, the next thing we did was we brought the faculty in engineering from EPCC and the faculty from engineering at UTEP. We all sat down in a room for many, many, many days, and we basically talked about how we were going to align our curriculum. So number one, we needed to align the degree plans so that we were sure that the students who took engineering classes at either EPC or UTEP would be transferable to either institution. But we also wanted to guarantee to the students that no matter where they took their engineering class, that they were going to get the same educational experience, whether it was at UTEP or EPCC. So that's where the aligned curriculum comes in. So basically our faculty sat down and kind of hashed out. So, for example, in a statics course in engineering, what are the learning outcomes? What are the activities that the students should have in order to meet those learning outcomes? And so basically we've designed this one aligned curriculum so that we could match with what UTEP was offering. So the other element of the Engineering Academy, and I always tell students this when they're interested in the Academy, is that it is a co-enrollment program, which basically means you will be enrolled at both UTEP and EPCC. And so what we've done is we've created a plan or a schedule in which students, even though they're enrolled at both, they would take classes only 2 days out of the week at EPCC. So in this example, you would take classes on Monday and Wednesday at EPCC, and then on the other 2 days of the week, say Tuesday and Thursday, you would take your classes at UTEP. That way you wouldn't have to shuttle back and forth between EPCC and UTEP on the same day. So we've divided that schedule out that way. Again, the whole goal was just to make sure that the students were able to experience the campus culture and obtain all of the student supports of both institutions as they go through their engineering program. We've also developed some specialized admissions and financial aid and advising processes that I'm going to talk to you a little bit more in a little bit. Again, the whole goal is just to provide that additional support for a co-enrollment program. We also are going to talk a little bit about some summer math enrichment, because at the end of the day, engineering does have a lot of math in it. And sometimes our students, when they come in, they don't want to take their math right away, but that's already going to be a problem because the students need to take those math courses right from the beginning. And that way it doesn't delay them on their degree plan. So we're trying to provide that added math support in order to get you on your path and then continue on path. And then of course, the last thing is we've developed a lot of cross-institutional activities, so things that students can get involved with at both EPCC and UTEP. So we want to create that network for you, but we also want you to have some hands-on and some experiential learning opportunities that we could provide to you. Okay, so a little bit about the engineering pathways at EPCC. So prior to the establishment of the Engineering Academy, we did have 5 engineering degree plans at El Paso Community College. So they were civil, industrial, mechanical materials, and of course, electrical and computer engineering. So one of the things that both UTEP and EPCC talked about was we wanted to consolidate the degree plans initially into one major degree plan. That way, when the students came in, they just said, we want to be an engineering major. So we're like, okay, here's your degree plan. And then the counselors and advisors would carefully advise students depending on what specific branch of engineering they wanted to go into. We realized in the planning process that there was a significant difference between electrical and computer engineering programs and all the other engineering programs. So for that reason, we actually, instead of consolidating to one, we consolidated to 2 different pathways. So the electrical and computer engineering pathway has remained, but we've created a second pathway we call general engineering. And again, this would be for any student who was interested in civil, industrial, mechanical, or materials engineering. This is the pathway that they would take. And so this is where I'm hearing some of the problems that are starting to emerge, because when students come to EPCC and they say, I want to be a mechanical engineer, I've been hearing that they've been told, well, we don't have mechanical engineering anymore. And so they're uncertain about where they need to place the student. And so this graphic is here to highlight where the student needs to go depending on that particular branch of engineering that they're declaring. So all of them would fall under the general engineering degree plan. And then of course, if they're electrical and computer, then they go just straight into the electrical and computer engineering pathway. So one of the benefits of the Engineering Academy is the establishment of the cohort model. So cohort models are not new. So just briefly, a cohort model basically means that the students are together and they will take the same classes together, they will go through their pathway together. And there's been a lot of initiatives at the college that have brought cohorts in, and it's shown to be very successful. So we wanted to create that peer cohort model for the Engineering Academy. Initially, when we created this, I was thinking that maybe the students wouldn't like to be part of the peer cohort, because we're basically telling the students, this is the math class you're going to take, this is the engineering class you're going to take, this is your schedule. And then there's really not much flexibility built into that, because they have to be in those courses. But you will be in those same courses with a peer group of students who will follow you throughout your pathway. And so you're going to get to know these students very well. In the picture that you see here on the screen, this was our first Engineering Academy cohort that started in fall of 2024. That cohort, we initially started with 13 students. And the 13 students have actually become like a family now. When you look at them, they all interact with each other like brothers and sisters. And they really do take care of each other. I've seen them ask each other questions about classwork or any topics that maybe they don't understand, or classes that they've missed. And they're asking, well, hey, what did we learn in this class? So they all do know each other very well. And actually, when we did a focus group of the Engineering Academy cohort about what were the most favorite things they liked about the Engineering Academy, this was the number one thing they said they loved. They just loved being in that peer cohort. So they took their math and the engineering, the first semester courses together, and at EPCC. And then the beautiful thing is when they took their classes at UTEP, they already knew each other. So I think one of the fears students has is when they go to UTEP, they're not going to know anybody, and it's a really, really large campus. And so when you're in this peer cohort, you go to UTEP, you already know people, right? Because you've gotten to know them as other classes that you have at EPCC. So when we assign you to your classes, we basically will provide what we call co-enrollment sessions. So that was another thing that the Engineering Academy cohort students told us that they loved, because when we first started this program, these poor students had to go to EPCC and enroll and register and get their classes. Then they had to go to UTEP, they had to enroll, they had to register, they had to get their classes. And sometimes there might have been some issues. So basically they were going back and forth between EPCC and UTEP to try to figure out how to rectify whatever challenges they were having. And we didn't want to do that for the students. We wanted to create something that was beneficial to them without having to travel back and forth. So we created what we call co-enrollment sessions. We also have co-advising. We also have co-registration. So right around the time that registration opens up, we create one day where all the students will come in, and we'll have representatives from both UTEP and EPCC there on that day. So we'll have the advisors there, we'll have admissions there, financial aid will be there. So everybody's going to be together in one, and that way they can enroll you right then and there on the spot at both UTEP and EPCC. They can advise you so that you can get the classes that you need right there on the spot, and then hopefully register you for those classes right then and there. So you're not having to go back and forth between UTEP and EPCC. You're all in one spot. And these co-enrollment sessions have currently been housed at El Paso Community College at the Valle Verde campus. And so I think the other thing the students love, besides the fact that they only had to go to one location to get their schedules for both UTEP and EPCC, is that we always scheduled these co-enrollment sessions right around UTEP's priority registration. And so a lot of people don't realize, like, what is priority registration? Well, this is a registration for specific groups of students who need to be first in line when it comes to registration. And that's because if you're a UTEP student, or if you've ever been to UTEP, you know that the registration, once it opens, the classes start to go very quickly. And so it's really hard to find classes that are going to fit your schedule and be flexible for you. And so by doing it in the priority registration, we're actually able to basically skip you ahead in line to register for classes at UTEP. That way there's more flexibility, and that way you can also have a schedule that works for you, knowing that you're going to have to go to EPCC 2 days out of the week and then go to UTEP 2 days out of the week. As I mentioned, we also have a co-advising process that we implemented. So we do have counselors and advisors between EPCC and UTEP who know each other. And during these co-enrollment sessions, they actually will sit down together and they'll be talking to each other when they're advising and registering you for your classes. So again, we've created a great team, a support team for you all. At EPCC, there's going to be a couple of groups of advisors and counselors that you're gonna see. If you're a first-year student and throughout your first year, you'll be seen by a counselor in the first-year experience center. After you pass your first year, then you're in your second year, you're going to be seen by an EPCC counselor. And we do have a dedicated EPCC counselor who is focused on the Engineering Academy, and she's very well informed and versed on how this process works. In addition to seeing a counselor and advisor, students will also be seeing a faculty advisor for engineering throughout the 2 years. So even though you're going to be changing advisors between year 1 and year 2, you're actually going to have one faculty advisor who's going to follow you throughout your 2 years at EPCC. This faculty advisor is an engineering faculty advisor. So she comes from the engineering industry. She knows because she's been there. And so in addition to mentoring you and providing the classes that students need, she's very good at telling you other things relating to the industry and engineering and what you need to do in order to prepare and get a job when you graduate. And then of course at UTEP, UTEP has their own specialized advising center for engineering students. They call it the Edge Center. So we've actually been working with them, the counselors and advisors there. I know them very well because I've seen them so much lately. I always joke that I'm like an unofficial member of the UTEP team. And so they're there to help guide you through your UTEP engineering degree plan to make sure that you're taking the classes that you need at UTEP. So again, the beautiful thing about co-enrollment is sometimes UTEP offers classes that first-year students need that EPCC doesn't offer, but you have to have them. So if you're co-enrolled, you'll be able to take your math and engineering at EPCC, and then when you go to UTEP, you can take those first semester courses in engineering that you need to have, that they recommend you have. So that, again, beautiful thing about co-enrollment. In addition to that, we've planned joint financial aid and orientation sessions for students in July and August. So after we get you advised and in your courses, you'll be required to attend a specialized orientation for the Engineering Academy. The financial aid, we've actually worked that out as well. We do have a consortium agreement with UTEP. And so basically what we tell students is that they're going to apply for financial aid at UTEP because technically UTEP will be the home campus for these students. And so they'll apply for financial aid, and any financial aid that they're awarded, they'll have to submit a consortium agreement, of course, every semester, along with their student statements. And then when the financial aid is awarded through UTEP, whatever aid they have remaining, will go to EPCC and pay off the tuition costs there. That way they're sure that their classes are covered at both institutions. And the question I often get is, even though you're part of the engineering academy and you're registered for 6 credits at UTEP and 6 at EPCC, do they still consider you a full-time student? And the answer is yes, they do, because of the consortium agreement. So we actually started, our second cohort of students began this past fall, 2025. And of course, we're going to look for a third cohort of students. Our second cohort had 23, so we grew from 13 to 23 students, and now we're going to start recruiting for our third cohort, who will begin in the fall of 2026. So again, we're only recruiting for the academy to start in the fall semesters. So we are looking for any student who is an engineering major, who is willing to attend UTEP and EPCC, and who wants to be a part of the program and participate in all of the activities that we provide to the students. So again, what are the benefits that you have for being a part of the Engineering Academy, where you're going to get to take the same classes with a cohort of your peers? So you're going to get to know them very well, and you're going to become like family. You're also going to be able to interact with students and faculty, not only from EPCC, but also from UTEP. So that's sometimes the tricky part, because I remember when I was an undergraduate student at UTEP, I didn't always get to interact with the faculty, nor was I able to interact with the graduate students of my department where I come from, right? I was a biology major, and I didn't get that opportunity until probably the end of my undergraduate and into my graduate career. And the only way to know what the culture of the engineering program is like at UTEP is to get you to interact with the faculty and the graduate students there, so you can see what they have to offer, but also what they do. And hopefully by creating this network, the students will be seen. I like to put quotes around the word seen, right? Because when you go to UTEP, there's like thousands of students there, right? And so sometimes you might be overshadowed, but if you're in the engineering academy and an engineering faculty member comes to me and says, do you know a student that you recommend for, this, right? This thing that I'm offering, then I can say, yes, I do. Actually, I know a few students in the engineering academy who would be perfect for this, right? So you're getting that front and center, you're getting spotlight shown on you so that people recognize and see you. And then these opportunities will hopefully be much better, as opposed to not having anybody advocating for you. You are going to receive academic and student support. So you already know the student support section. We already told you about the advising and how we've set that up for you, for the students. We also talked about the admissions, and we're basically bringing everything to you. But both UTEP and EPCC have other specialized support systems on campus that, as both a UTEP and EPCC student, you can take advantage of. And so that's the beauty of it. So you could do tutoring at EPCC, but you can also do tutoring at UTEP, right? Our goal is to help you build connections with employers in the engineering industry. So that's one of the things we do. We do have an engineering advisory board here at EPCC. We actually have some UTEP faculty and graduate students who are part of that advisory committee. But we also have engineering industry members who are part of that committee. And when we meet, all we talk about during that meeting is how can we create more opportunities for our students? How can we provide internships? How can we provide research experiences? How can we provide activities that will enhance the students' exposure to the engineering program? And so we want you to participate in research opportunities at UTEP. UTEP has just these amazing engineering labs, and they're doing terrific research in the engineering field. I think they were just recognized for the number of grants they were awarded for innovation and research development at UTEP in the engineering program. And as undergraduate students, you should have the opportunity to engage in those types of activities because you're never going to know if engineering's right for you unless you engage in some sort of out of classroom activity. And that I always promoted that to my own students in biology when I was a professor. I told them you need to do an internship, you need to do some research experience, you need to do more than what we're teaching you in the classroom, and understand that that's something you want to do. So if you can have it earlier in your career, in your student career, so first year is the best opportunity to do that, I tell students, um, then that's when we want you to have those experiences. And of course, you're going to receive excellent and affordable education from two nationally recognized institutions. UTEP's engineering program is recognized nationally for their program, for their research, but also the fact that they award the most degrees in engineering to Hispanic students. And EPCC is also nationally recognized as uh, being the #1 college to offer and award degrees to Hispanic students. But I recently saw an article come out from the Washington Post, maybe a couple of days ago, that EPCC was ranked #5 in the nation for being the best educational institute for Hispanic students. So we do have nationally recognized institutions here in El Paso, and sometimes, students don't realize that we are nationally recognized for what we do, and so we need to share that with them. In addition to that, another benefit of being a part of the Engineering Academy is students will see a reduction in tuition costs. And so what I have here is a little table that shows, what it would cost to take all of your courses at UTEP, and then what would it cost if you were part of the Engineering Academy, in which you would have half your courses at UTEP and half at EPCC. So this is just based on standard 12 credit hour tuition costs, in-state tuition, and then of course you have the fees associated with that tuition. So again, it's based on 12 credit hours. So it's not based on any other sort of fees. So there are a lot of science courses, there's a lot of engineering courses that you will have to take, and so there's no lab fees in here. There's no books, supply costs, any of those additional fees, parking fees, for example, are not part of this cost. This is just straight tuition and resident fees. And so you see what the cost difference will be. It's almost or a little bit over $1,000 in savings if you're part of the Engineering Academy. And I always tell students, I go, that's $1,000 in your pocket. So even if you receive financial aid, you're not paying for courses out of pocket, you're receiving financial aid or a scholarship or grants, then that extra $1,000 is going to help you, because you can use that money to pay for your books and your supplies and materials that you need for school, but also need parking fees or other fees that maybe you didn't consider when you were registering for classes. Okay, for students who are not math ready, so I always get this question too about the Engineering Academy, because it is a math heavy program. And when we initially started the academy, we were looking for students who were already calculus ready. So they were ready to take calculus 1 when they came in through the door of their first semester. Since then, we've opened the program to more students. So it could be a full-time student, it could be a part-time student, it could be a student who is math ready, it could be a student who is not math ready, right? So any student who wants to be a part of the Engineering Academy is welcome to put in a interest request so that we can get back to you with more information about the Academy. But this is what the opportunities or options that are available to students who are not math ready. So again, when you come into EPCC or UTEP, you have to take a test, right, to place you. If you happen to be a student who doesn't place at, say, college algebra, right, so that's our math 1314, you don't place there, you place below that. So then we would call that a developmental math track. There's several options to help you get caught up with your math, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to take a lot of your engineering courses unless you take those math courses that you need that are prerequisites to those engineering courses. So there are several options available to you. We do offer boot camps at both EPCC and UTEP. So let's say you take the TSI, you don't pass, you can enroll in these boot camps. You can get the information, the training that you need. Then you can take the TSI again, and hopefully with the boot camp, the goal is to help you pass that TSI test. Or let's say you haven't taken the TSI, but you want to take a boot camp, you're welcome to do that first and then do the TSI so that you can place college ready. So that's one option. Another option is that UTEP does offer an 8-week prep course for Calculus 1. So let's say you come in the fall and you want to take that Calculus 1 course, right? If you place college ready and you're placed in algebra pre-calculus, then you can register for the prep course. And then if you take the course, you'll be able to, and pass it successfully, then you can take Calculus 1. In addition to the 8-week prep course for Calculus 1, they also offer a 5-credit math class at UTEP. And the math class will basically cover the topics of both algebra and pre-calculus in one semester. And so if you successfully pass this course at UTEP, then you can go ahead and go on to Calculus 1. So let's say you come in and you test and they place you in algebra. Well, this would be an option for you to fast track if that's what you're interested in. And of course, at EPCC, what our plan would be to have you guys take the boot camp in the summer. And let's say you take the boot camp and you place math ready, then your option would be to take algebra in an 8-week mini 1, and then you could take your pre-calculus in an 8-week mini 2 and in the fall semester, and then by the time you're done in the spring, you're ready to take Calculus 1. So again, these are just options for students who do want to fast track their math so that they can stay on track. But it doesn't mean that we're going to make you or force you to do this. So if you come in and you're like, you know what, I just want to take one math class a semester. I placed in algebra. I just want to take my algebra in the fall and then take my pre-calculus in the spring. That is perfectly okay. We're going to work with you. We'll work with any students. Our only goal is to try to keep you on your path, on your degree plan, and get you to transfer to UTEP. So the Engineering Academy co-enrollment events, again, happen at EPCC's Via Verde campus in the Arts, Science, and Technology building, or AST building. We usually plan the events for around late May and early June. Again, the reason we do it at that time frame is because we're trying to take advantage of UTEP's priority registration. And so that's what we want. We want the students to come in early and do this. And so if you don't make this deadline of late May or early June, we can certainly get you into the Engineering Academy after this deadline. However, the options available to you to register at UTEP are going to be lower, as well as EPCC. We try to block off the classes that you're going to have at EPCC, but if those classes are full, then we'll have to put you in a different class. In order to take advantage of the co-enrollment event, the best thing to do is to come prepared. So let's say you're a student, you just graduated from high school and you want to be part of the Engineering Academy. You come to the co-enrollment event, UTEP will be there, EPCC will be there. And so all we do is we ask you to be prepared by applying for both UTEP and EPCC on Apply Texas when you do that. And of course, apply for financial aid through FAFSA and indicate UTEP as the school that you want to receive financial aid for. When you're graduated, we want to make sure you send your transcripts to both EPCC and UTEP because both institutions are going to need to see your student transcripts. We also ask that students bring their immunization records because that's one of the processes we learned early on, is that when students wanted to enroll, we always got stuck because the student didn't have their immunization records, so they couldn't complete the enrollment process. And if they couldn't complete the enrollment process, then we can't register for them. And so your options would be to bring your immunization record and show it then and there. Or you can sign a waiver for immunizations with EPCC and UTEP. And of course, be prepared to enroll at both EPCC and UTEP at that time. So anybody who's interested, or if you know someone who's interested, we do have an interest form that we ask students to complete. Once they complete that form, then somebody will call the student and give them more information. I often have students calling me or emailing me, and that's perfectly fine. I'm willing to talk to you about the Engineering Academy. But what I'll most likely do is I'll forward your information to the engineering faculty advisor at EPCC. She's the one that helped me establish the Engineering Academy program, so she's well aware of all the information and how this works, and she's going to be the best person to guide you through the Engineering Academy onboarding process. So this is the QR code if you're interested. If you scan this, it will also take you to a web page. So I just wanted to share that with you briefly so you could see what I'm talking about. So let me just stop sharing really quick. So let me find it real quick. I'm so sorry. Here it is. So we do have a website for the Engineering Academy. So if you just go to the epcc.edu, you can actually do a search and do Engineering Academy, and then it'll take you here. So this is your website, and you'll notice that it does provide some information, but there's a box that says interest form. So if you click on that box, it'll take you to the form. You can fill it out, and then someone will get back to you with that information. Okay, so let me just stop sharing that and go back to my presentation. Okay, so that's the interest form. And then of course, this is the contact information. This is for EPCC. So I'm providing my contact information. Again, you can reach out to me via email or my office phone number. So if I receive your information, I will forward it to Ms. Van Chen. I apologize, Ms. Chen doesn't have her office number set up yet, so I'm waiting on that. So that's why I don't have a phone number for her. But I do have her email there posted for you. And again, she's a math faculty at Valle Verde, but she's also an engineering faculty advisor. Just because she does have her degrees in engineering. She's worked in the engineering industry for many, many years, so she's very familiar of that career pathway. And so that's all I have for today. I'm willing to take any questions that you may have at this time.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Escamilla? Dr. Escamilla, this is a great program. I'm really excited to see that we're partnering with UTEP for this. So this is a really nice opportunity for our students. So we really appreciate you coming to tell us about this program.
Oh yes, no, thank you for having me. I'm always open to promoting and recruiting for the Engineering Academy. Again, we're always looking for students, and so thank you so much for having me here today and allowing me to talk about the Engineering Academy.
Of course. No, thank you. And I did put the link to the website that Dr. Escamilla showed right now for the interest form. You can get that in the chat box. So if you're interested in signing up in that interest form, you can go ahead and click there to get that information. But again, we thank you for coming and providing this information for us today.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
And thanks to all of you. I'm going to be putting in the Tejano Passport Point link in the chat box. If you saw my message earlier, it's possible that if you were in a math session earlier and you used the Tejano Passport code in the morning and didn't sign out, You might run into problems using the code again, right? This different code for this session. And if that's the case, you can either clear your browser or use a different browser and see if it works. And if not, you can let us know and we can help you out. But if you have not heard of Tejano Passport, what it is that you get points for attending different EPCC events. There's also locations around town that have our Tejano Passport QR code that you can sign in when you go to different museums and things or other activities. And these points, what happens is you'll earn points towards getting a medallion. So when you graduate, they'll give you a medallion that you can wear at graduation. Next week, we do have another wonderful presentation. We are looking at having CSD with Mr. John Estrada, and also the Writing Center will also be here with Ms. Vanessa Zuniga. So if you would be interested in hearing about CSD and the Writing Center at 1 o'clock next Friday, we will be here at the same link. And so thank you again to Dr. Escamilla for her presentation and that great engineering academy we have here at EPCC, and to thank you all for coming. And hopefully you'll have a great weekend and stay safe. Take care.